Hello and welcome to today's episode of Platinum Talks Wealth. Emmy-nominated journalist Jennifer Rogers Markwell changed gears in her television career when she realized the need to help women make sense of investing. She regularly hosts educational workshops to empower women and others to take charge of their financial future. Now, join your host, Platinum Wealth Management President Jennifer Rogers Markwell, as she leads us into the world of money memories, money infidelities, and how these can mold our relationship with our personal finances as adults. Let's dive into today's episode.
Hi, and thanks for joining us on the Platinum Talks Wealth podcast. Today, I'm joined by Ilyana Gutierrez. I've got to say, our newest wealth advisor on the Platinum Wealth Management team. Ilyana, thank you for spending some time.
I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, so I think one of the big questions, we know you, we know why you do what you do, but I'd love you to kind of reshare that, but also talk through today of what it takes to become a financial advisor. I think there's a lot of misnomers out there of like, you just got a job and that's all you do, but there's so much more behind the scenes, I think, that people don't realize for us to be doing what we're doing. So first off, tell us all about you and why you do what you do, and then let's gravitate towards that too.
Yeah, it's so funny. You're probably gonna say that I'm, patting you on the back too much, but I feel like why I do what I do is kind of because I met you. And so it's so funny to say that. But when I met you, I did not know that I wanted to be a financial advisor. And I think through meeting you and I think seeing how you do business, and you do it a little bit different than other financial advisors. And I think just seeing the business, I thought this is something that I could really be a part of. And yeah, being a financial advisor, to me, I think we think it's just helping people wherever they're at, kind of being, I was thinking it's almost like being a soundboard with anything financial. So, bounce your financial ideas off of us, and we're here to help you wherever you need us.
Yeah, I think that's a good point because holistically we look at everything, right? Truly, like, are you buying a house? Are you buying a car? Do you have kids? Is there college need for education? Like, are you retiring soon? Have you started a retirement account? There's so many different facets to what we do. And it's not just traditional wealth management, it's also financial planning, which is really, taking that step back and looking at everything big picture.
Yeah, it's a huge scope.
Yeah. So back to the point of becoming a financial advisor. So I had no idea, quite frankly, what that meant at all. And I didn't have anybody to help mentor me. And honestly, like, you've been the very, very best, and so grateful to have you grow on team from an intern for 3.5 years now into a wealth advisor. It's been such an honor to watch you do that. But it hasn't been an easy path. And it's hard. And I think for me going in, not knowing, my background was TV. I had no idea this was even a thing until, I learned to try to help my grandma along the way. And this is where I landed, which I'm so grateful for. But I think people think it's a job to a certain extent, which it is. I think it's more of a lifestyle, but there's a lot of stepping stones that you have to kind of learn and go through before you even get to the point where we're at. So if you can kind of go through your journey, that would be amazing.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel like my journey was a hard one. It was not, and I feel like every's journey probably to becoming a financial advisor is a hard one. I was thinking about, you coming from TV, and, I think another person on our team, Cozy, she came in from health, and some people do job hops from other places to finance. Me, I was finance. So I went to school for finance and accounting, and, I thought to myself, this should make the journey easier. And, that doesn't necessarily mean that, just going to school for finance and accounting, it doesn't really make, the testing process that much easier. And so, yeah, I was an intern for 3 years for you while I was in college. And then once I finished school, I was like, oh, I'm going to pass all my tests and I'm going to be a financial advisor. And I thought it was going to be quicker than I think it actually happened, just because the 7 beat me down. And that is, something that I think we've talked about. And, it's not something that I think I'm ashamed to admit, because it's a hard test.
Totally. And it's not even just the 7. You've had the SIE, which is a newer, not to date myself, but a newer test we didn't have to take back in the day. But we had to take the educational equivalent to have it now, even now. You had to do the SIE, you had to do the Series 66, and you had to do the 7. And all of those were its own educational journeys. Share more about that.
Yeah, so I will say, I actually looked it up before this, and so the SIE is new. It started in 2018. So, that is a fairly new test. And it's actually, I would say it's a pretty hard one too. It covers a lot of the things that I think are on the seven, just the seven goes into way more detail. So SIE, luckily I studied hard and I passed that one the first time. So was happy about that. 66 is kind of more of the state rules and regulations. And I had taken the seven after the SIE and I did not pass. And I think we had kind of talked, me and you, what's the game plan? You have to wait a month after you take the seven to retake it. So I think in between that time, we were just like, okay, let's get the 66 out of the way. So I kind of took that one on right after that, took that test. Thank goodness I passed that one the first time as well. But the seven, I tried to jump back and do it again, and I did not pass for the second time. So that was, a huge disappointment. I was just so disappointed. But, it's a part of my journey. I remember the whole time you would tell me it's going to make you a better advisor, and that definitely helped me so much through the process.
It's hard. I mean, these are not easy tests. If they were easy, then everyone could, go through it and pass it. And I've even heard too, again, I have no affiliation with any of those tests by any means, but I have heard from many people who've been in the industry a long time that those tests are much harder now than they were back in the day, even when I went through. And it was hard. It was so hard back then. So, I mean, the knowledge that you have to go through the test is I think quite robust. I mean, give me a handful of things that were topics. I mean, you had topics across the board that you had to have a good knowledge on to be able to navigate through. I mean, share some of those for folks that
Yeah.
maybe don't know.
Yeah, and so I mean, it covers the scope of just basic financial topics that are, I think more stuff that you learn in school. What are bonds? Kind of just trading stocks. Those are kind of, things that I think that I grasped a little bit easier. The seven is also, it's a ton of rules and regulations, which is so, it's so important.
And
But
options, you had options in the mix
yes,
too, and straddles
options,
and all
options
kinds of things.
options are very rough. If anybody is in school for finance at all, they know what options are and that those are not fun. But yeah, I think for me, it's just so many rules and regulations. And I think it's so important, the stuff that's on the test, because a lot of it will be, opening accounts for people and what are the rules and regulations of that, and how do we double check, and how do we, I don't know, just kind of not be scammy and all the different things, because it should be a highly regulated field, and it is. So, it's just important to know all of that stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, so many facets, like you're saying. I think even something that we share too as a team often is, this is somebody's money. It's whether it's a dollar or it's $100 million. It matters. It matters regardless of what it is, simply because somebody worked hard for that money, and we have the honor and the privilege to be able to support somebody as they're, going through financial planning and investing, and that's a big deal. We don't
Yeah.
take light of that at all.
Yeah, I know. I think through the process, I would almost put myself down a little bit, and I would be like, you're not studying to be a doctor, you're not studying to be an engineer. But then I thought to myself, we're almost like a doctor of finances, and it's a different thing, that I think you still have to take into consideration. It's a very hard field, and it's also very, very important, just in a very different way.
Yeah, and not only on the, educational front or the trading front or the investment front, but also on the psychological front. I feel
Mhm.
like that's huge. I mean, this year alone, I mean, I've had clients that I've had long-term relationships with pass away, and it's heartbreaking because you've been working with them for, for me for 15 years for some of them, and having those deep relationships with folks, like you don't lose sight of that. And then you're there to help the spouse that's left over to try to navigate moving forward. But I don't know. For me, I've come to such a point where I love clients. Like you have such a deep relationship and you've seen the good, the bad, the kids, people passing away, divorces. I mean, so many different big aspects of someone's life. And they have given you the honor of opening up that door to help support them in their journey. And that's such a big deal. Such a big deal.
Oh yeah, and you're right. So much of it is emotional for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
And
there's not a day that goes by that I'm not so grateful to do what I do. So grateful.
oh yeah, me too. And I think just, to speak more just a little bit about the test and the industry. The day that I passed the test, I was, so happy. And one of our team members had actually told me just a little bit of statistics about our field. And I thought it was so interesting. It like blew me away. But so, what percentage of women in America are financial advisors? And he told me 30%, which is already, I think a little bit disappointing because I think in a lot of other areas, I think women are totally killing it. But this is a super male dominated field. So I think, when you hear 30%, you're like, oh gosh.
And
And
30% even seems like a high number. I mean, not high. I'd love to see
yep.
it even, but I feel like that's even a high number from, I mean, for sure where it was a decade ago, right?
Oh, for sure. And then I think just another thing to speak to is, he said, you're Latino, and that's another huge part of it. And so, he told me only 7% of financial advisors in the US identify as Latino. So that's like another huge, huge area.
And then I think to break it down even more, women that are Latina that are financial advisors, I think, what is that, 3%?
Yep. Yeah. It went all the way, jumped all the way down to that.
You are listening to the Platinum Talks Wealth podcast.
Hey, it's Jennifer. I wanted to take a quick break to remind you that you are worthy to have a seat at the table when it comes to money and your finances. We, both me and my team at Platinum Wealth Management, want to meet you where you are, whether you're starting out, starting over, or have been investing for years. Reach out to us at platinumwealth.net or call us at 775 717 0001. We'd be honored to help.
And now, back to the podcast.
So I think it's just I think you put into perspective, it does make me so much more proud of, passing the test and finishing the journey. And I would encourage anybody that I meet that's a younger woman, from whatever race you are, join the field because it's a great field to be in for sure.
Yeah, that's one thing that I feel like I got a learning lesson with you too, right? Like truly you as a person.
Um,
I interned a ton when I was in TV and I always thought that was so important. And I ended up meeting your mom and your mom was sharing about how you wanted people to save money and put money into Roths and do different things. And I was like, that's fantastic. And it all worked out beautifully for you to become an intern. And I think internships are so important to see if
mhm.
this is a field that you want to be in, to get your feet wet, to see kind of what a team dynamic looks like. And granted, every company, every team is going to be a little bit different. But I feel like again, just from my perspective, watching you grow has been just fantastic.
Yeah, and that's another huge thing. I feel so lucky to have had the internship because I do think it really made me feel sure about the career path. So I was super happy about that. And just as I was graduating college, I just noticed that a lot of people maybe they had jobs, but a lot of them did not have internships. And so yeah, anybody who's in college, I would definitely recommend, getting an internship because I think it's just so helpful, as you graduate.
And then you can see if it's a field that you even want to be in. I know that you were on the fence of like, do I want to be a CPA? Do I want to be a financial advisor? Like, what do I want to do? And so it really, I feel like, got your feet wet along the way. And without the internship, you're right. Somebody goes into a job path and maybe they love it, hopefully. But if they don't like it, they're like, what's next? Right? Where do I go? Where do I pivot to? Like, what else can I do? And I feel like that just gives you like such a leg up. I feel like being your age, coming in and being like, okay, yeah, I've gotten my feet wet. This is the adventure I want to move forward with to help and change the world.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing, Ilyana, as always.
Yeah, no.
So one thing that we talk about on the podcast, and you have before in previous episodes, are money memories. And I think that just from you and I sharing before, there's definitely different aspects of that. And money memories can change for people from where that comes from, whether it's childhood, teenage years, or even a money memory that pops in their head for most recently. And that seems to be the case for you.
Yeah, yeah. So I was thinking about today, what did I want to talk about for my money memories? Because I know I've already been on the podcast, so that's awesome. But I kind of before talked about, my mom and how she was such an inspiration to me when I was younger and kind of talked through that. But I was thinking today, I was like, your money memories are also, they're always forming, they're always developing. And I think as in the past, 4 years, as I've been in college, as I've gotten this internship, I've gotten a lot of money memories just in doing that. So, that's been a part of the journey. I think seeing the different cases that you run into, other advisors on the team that you guys run into, I mean, it's insane some of the stuff that I think we hear when we meet with clients. And so, yeah, I mean, we can dive into some of the different topics, but yeah, I mean, we see so many different things, and I think it just always, has me take a step back and just be like, wow, people are going through so many different things when it comes to their finances.
Yeah, I mean, and it's like I said, the psychology side of things. I mean, there's so many things going on, whether that's people getting married, people changing jobs, people, I mean, there's so many different things and nuances and we see a lot. I mean, we see the good, the bad, the really bad, I mean, and the fantastic. I mean, we see every aspect of it. And the sad. We see sadness as well in this journey and supporting people. And I think that I mean, there's definitely memories from early on in my career path that stick out to me too, that are money memories from for me as well. So interesting that you shared that because I feel like as you continue growing in, this career path and as I continue growing, I feel like we'll still have different nuggets that we'll take along the way in our journey to make us better advisors and I think more empathetic to be able to help people where they're at in their journey.
Yeah, and I think, as we talk to people, every case is different. And we've talked about that. Like finance is not one shoe fits all. So every person we talk to, it's kind of, we're almost kind of diagnosing them differently based on what they have going on, what their situation is, what they want to do in the future. And so, like I think just the kind of crazy experiences that I've heard, just older people being locked into an annuity that's maybe not the best for them. And it's just kind of like, oh gosh, who's the person that put you into this? And, I think things like that a little bit, or, we had kind of like slightly talked about, Bitcoin before too, and just how some people have kind of almost been caught up and sucked into that aspect of things and
Yeah, and
kind
just disclaimer on those too. I mean, sometimes different investments are a fit for some people and sometimes they're not for others. And it really depends on each individual of what their personal situation looks like. And specifically for, certain products, I mean, certain things don't give you liquidity, right? So is that a fit for you in your situation? Maybe it is, maybe it's not. But we have uncovered situations where it's been things that people are in that again that come to us that need help that are questionable the initial reasons why they went into it and how can we help them and most recently the one thing that you're sharing about there was it wasn't tied to cryptocurrency but this person thought it was but it turned out to be a complete scam had no affiliation with us by any means. It was somebody saying, hey, this is what I've been doing and we referred them to the local police department to report that because it was not anything that was legal or ethical or anything tied to anything substantial. Like it was a little crazy hearing those things. And I think that's a good reminder just to, I mean, back to your original point is really do your research, do your due diligence.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. I think that's just one thing that I've learned, as, I've been in the industry just for a little bit and watching, you guys all be advisors. Just yeah, just as you talk to people, how important being a financial advisor is in all these different people's lives. You guys play such an integral role in all these people's journeys. So yeah, I mean, I'm so excited to kind of join in and, help people along the way.
Yeah, no, and I think that's huge coming from especially a heart-centric place of wanting to do things for the right reasons, right? That's one thing I can absolutely say about the team is everybody is very heart-centric and wanting to be completely ethical, put clients first and help in any way that they can. Again, regardless of the situation or where they're at, but really helping them and listening and being supportive and supporting wherever we can.
Yeah, I know. I always feel like you said earlier, it's a lifestyle, and I feel like I think we all feel lucky to do it.
Oh my gosh, what a great gift. And to know that this, I mean, I didn't even know this was a career or a thing or something, right? And here I am doing something that I feel like it's really fulfilling for sure.
Yeah, no, it is. It's so fulfilling.
Well, so as we kind of begin to wrap things up, we've gone through a lot of topics. I always like to ask, what are tips and or tricks that you use to utilize money differently in your own household?
Yeah, and I think I'll just hint back to doing research. We were talking about it just before this. Since I just passed all my tests, we looked me up on Broker Check just to make sure that I'm shown as a registered broker on the website, and I am. And so I think that's always a good idea. No matter what you're doing with your finances, I think just making sure that you're talking to a professional and just making sure you're getting your information from a credible source for sure.
Yeah, and for those of you listening who or watching who don't know what FINRA broker check is, it's FINRA. You can Google it or put it in any search engine and look for broker check. And you're able to pull up any licensed financial advisor that you're working with and actually see what states they're licensed in. Do they have any customer complaints? Are there any lawsuits? Were there any weird things behind the scenes that are there? You're able to really look at things transparently before you choose to work with someone. And I always recommend that as we're, talking with new clients or someone's interviewing us and we're interviewing them to see if it's a good fit to work together. Yeah, pull me up, pull the team up, like look to see what things look like to make sure that you're comfortable and you're seeing everything across the board. Cause I think that's transparency is so important, especially in this industry.
Yeah, and not, not to say anything disparaging about, people who talk about finance on social media or whatever, but I think there's like a lot of also miscommunication on social media. We see that a lot, where people will just, kind of spew off all these different things that you should be doing with your money. And, it's always a good idea. Technically, as financial advisors, we're not allowed to be, doing that on social media, just giving advice, out on any platforms. It's very regulated. So most likely, if you're seeing someone on TikTok or Instagram giving you, financial advice, it's probably they're not a financial advisor. So, that's always a good thing to keep in mind.
Yeah, I mean, funny, not funny, but funny that you say that because I feel like lately I've seen so many like reels from people being like, buy this, do that, and blanketing statements. And then you look to find you're like, oh, you're not licensed. Oh, you don't have like, again, it's just whoever's spewing information. And that drives me crazy because we can't blanket, and nor should we be blanketing information across the board to buy anything or sell anything or do an investment strategy because again, it's not a one shoe fits all, like you said earlier, right? It's about what's your personal situation? What are your goals? They're not going to be the same as your neighbors or your friends or your kids. Everybody's goals are different. Everybody's, path potentially is different financially. And I think that's where it comes in so important to work with the right advisor who's willing to listen, talk that through with you and not just, shove you into whatever random product that someone's yelling about on TikTok, which drives me crazy.
Yeah, no, and it happens a lot, and I'm sure a lot of people see it, but I think, yeah, just to know, before I got in this industry, I had no idea what broker check was, or had even had the thought to look up who I'm listening to on TikTok or anything like that.
Yeah, or on the radio or on the TV. Pull up everybody. Like, look at everybody.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's always a good idea.
Well, Ilyana, as always, such a pleasure. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you so much, Jennifer.
Of course. And those of you listening and or watching, hopefully you'll join us on the next Platinum Talks Wealth podcast.
If you enjoyed today's podcast, Platinum Talks Wealth, please subscribe and share. For more information about Jennifer Rogers Markwell or Platinum Wealth Management, please visit www.platinumwealth.net. Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member of FINRA and SIPC. The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a decision. The guest speakers and their companies are not affiliated with or endorsed by LPL Financial or Platinum Wealth Management.